Now that we've made caramel, let's talk about using it to make caramel apples. I have my caramel in a bowl here, and I have my apples here. There's two ways you can get your caramel. You can make a special batch just for making caramel apples, and if that's the case, you want to cook it a little bit less than you would for the regular caramel candy. You want to aim for about 240 degrees Fahrenheit, and this is just so that the caramel that coats your apple is a little bit softer, a little bit chewier. And if you are making a special batch just for caramel apples, once you reach 240, just let it cool down until about 190 so that it's not super hot when you're dipping, because that is a recipe for having the caramel slide right off the apple. The other way you can get your caramel is by just cutting up the caramel we already made. If you have some leftover caramel candies, put them in a saucepan with just a spoonful of water or cream and melt them together, kind of stirring consistently. And that extra water or cream will soften the caramel, and then you can use that to dip the apples too. So my caramel right now, it's still liquidy. You can see it's still falling off my spatula, but it's not really hot to the touch. So hopefully this will be a good temperature to coat my apples with a good thick layer of caramel and not just slide right off. My apples, I've treated a little bit because most apples you buy at the store have a very thin kind of invisible wax coating on them for freshness. And that wax is also trouble because sometimes it causes the caramel to slide off the apple. So if you've ever dipped apples and just ended up with a giant puddle of caramel and nothing on the apple, it was probably either a temperature issue or a wax issue. So to get that off, what I do is I just fill a bowl with vinegar and water and kind of scrub with a food-safe brush or sponge, and that'll get that wax coating right off. And then just make sure your apples are dry before you go on. So I have some heavy-duty skewers. I'm just going to stick it right in, down deep into my apple. If they're not pretty secure, the apple could fall right off, so don't be shy. Get them in there. You can also use chopsticks if you want, or really thick like lollipop sticks. So my apples are ready. I'm going to go for it. Give it a good stir. And then I like to use a spoon or a spatula, especially if you don't have a giant amount of caramel and the apple doesn't just dip right in. Get that. You can kind of roll it around a little bit. Get it coated with a good layer of caramel. Bring it on out. And then just let the excess drip back into the bowl. My caramel's a little thick. You can see how thick this layer is on the apple. I don't actually mind. If you want a bit of a thinner layer, you can warm up your caramel just a little bit. But really, what's wrong with having a thick layer of caramel? And just set it on your baking sheet once you get that excess caramel off. Do one more here. Sometimes it helps to tilt the bowl and then just roll the apple around, kind of like that, get every surface covered. I like to leave a little bit of room on top. I don't like to go all the way to the stick, just so people can see the apple. I think it's a really pretty kind of visual effect of having a little apple peeking out, but you can certainly go all the way up. So after all your apples are dipped, we're going to refrigerate it. And you can see I have a little bit of a foot peeking out from my caramel apples. That's pretty common. And so if it bothers you, after about 10 minutes in the refrigerator, you can take them back out again and kind of press the caramel back up the apple. Because after about 10 minutes, it should be kind of sort of set, but still flexible. And then you would refrigerate them for an hour just to get the caramel all set.